Welcome back, guys, to an episode I've been looking forward to ever since the beginning of this build. It's part 11, and what we're actually doing today is the castle dungeons. As you can see, we built this grand waterfall that runs down into the rivers, and beneath it is an incredibly impressive set of dungeons. As you can see here, you can see the simplistic top layer with all the entrances, and then what it actually does is it goes really deep down, layer after layer, down into the deep dark of this vast cave. The shaders emphasizes this darkness and dulliness, and I hope you enjoy seeing how it's built. So we might as well begin. What we're just going to open with here is, as you can see, this is what we left off with last episode. We built the entrance tunnel, you can see there, and now what we've got is this huge, just empty cave. But what we're going to start off with is simply the overall waterfall. You saw it at the beginning, it keeps it secluded so no one can see it. So what we're going to have to do is start just basically shaping the landscape. It's a blank canvas at the minute. It's a natural Minecraft generated landscape, so we're gonna have to change this up a little bit. Waterfalls have always been something I think should be included in the Minecraft seed. I've never really seen them, but in 1.7 I've heard is there going to be some new biomes, so maybe we might see waterfalls coming in. But anyway, as you can see, we had to create our own today. So in a very similar style to how I've built other natural landscapes, I've just used stone bricks randomly. I've got no previous idea in my head how I want them to lay, so I'm just quickly knocking them about and then slightly knocking them away and editing them, and slowly, as you can see, in this sped up little mode, we're obviously building up this cliffside. As you can see, the rest of the cliff was stone based and had a grass top, so obviously this has had to be replicated, so again I've used the grass. And as you see, I do make a few mistakes. I make it look a little bit too rigid and square, so as you can see, I'm just breaking it off again and slowly just carving it into the perfect shape for a waterfall. As you can see, what we have to do now is we have to knock way into the deep of the cliff, because the water's obviously going to pour out of it, so we're not just going to have water placed on the side. So what we're doing is we're creating a little lake thing basically inside here, so we can place the water and just let it run out. As you can see, placing all the water at the back of the cave, and it just all comes gradually pouring out and lying all the way across the landscape. I did like the way it split there and had an opening, but we do want to keep the dungeons quite secluded and secretive, so we have to cover it all up. As you can see, again, just knocking away and reshaping and just making those little changes that overall create an incredibly large impact to the castle. It's the little details. So say you built a massive house, it looks good, but when you put the little crevices and details into it, it looks even more impressive. So as you can see, just slowly finishing off the shape for the waterfall. Obviously this is just the beginning of the episode, so this isn't the primary bit really, this waterfall. What we're going to focus on mainly is obviously the dungeons. Again, adding vines. This just adds an aged effect to it. It just makes it look a little more realistic and old. It just looks overall quite impressive. So as you can see, just quickly plopping these down. It's a style been used many times before in this castle. Now what we have is this incredibly impressive natural looking waterfall. Again, just filling in all the gaps with more water, just finishing it off here. So now, as you can see, it looks incredibly impressive on the inside, the light shining through there, but I didn't really want the water pouring inwards. So what we do is we do a few edits on that in a moment. For now, what we're actually doing is, prisoners, they may try and escape. So what we have to do is quickly, you'll just see me quickly editing this, and these are just block off points. So it goes really dark. This is all obviously due to the shaders, so I'll light this up again. And as you can see, just building these little grates. This is just so if anything did go wrong, the prisoner got out of his cell, he would not be able to escape. Because the way I've actually found this cave under them, this is natural so far. I haven't sculpted this myself, and as you can see, I have explored it previously. It's got lots and lots. There are like 6 caves that all just lead out of the cliff in different spots. One of them even goes really far and comes out in the jungle. So obviously I had to just get this. I'm using a stone brick outline and then obviously iron bars inlay, so basically no prisoners can escape. That's a perfect example. This one actually ends, it just ends there, but others, they carry on going and going and going, and then finally you do actually escape. So obviously this was a primary thing for me to make sure this is all blocked up. So that one you just saw in the distance, I fill in the rest of them off camera, so I don't have to bore you with me just filling in little holes. And what we actually start doing now is just walling off the waterfall so it doesn't pour inwards. But as you can see at the minute, I'm using stone bricks, and it does look good, but I felt that I wanted the waterfall to be as natural as possible, because I wanted this dungeon to have its own obviously man-made style, but I also quite like the fact that it looked like it was built into the landscape, that it doesn't like protrude out. So what we do is we delete all this stone brickness, and what we actually fill it in with is just normal stone, because again it just makes it, oh sorry, no, we use grass to make it just look a lot more natural, and as if we haven't like change the landscape all that too much. So what we actually now move on to is I can see where I'm going to have the entrance, but I'm not too happy with this style. So what we need to do is we need to make this cave bigger, and the best way and quickest way of doing that, and it creates an incredibly natural look, is using a lot of TNT. What we're doing here, we're just getting rid of the corner, so we use a tiny bit of TNT. So what we actually in a moment are going to do is later on to make the cave, as you saw in the opening, the cave went down a lot further than probably what you can see now. That's because I use hundreds and hundreds of blocks of TNT. So in a moment you'll prepare yourself for that. I'm no redstone expert. I like building things in Minecraft, like castles and stuff, but I'm no expert with redstone. So as you can see, I had no idea I needed to use a repeater here. So as you can see, the redstone signal has not made it. I just have a quick brainstorm and then remember previously, maybe a year ago, using redstone. And again, I didn't even put it there. Look, I'm a bit of an amateur with redstone. So as you can see, just finally click on and forget to turn off the lever. Sorry about that, that was my mobile phone. I should be incredibly professional and turn it off, but I forgot. So as you can see now, we've just lightened up and we've created a nice corner in this area, but that's not enough for me, really, to be honest. So what I do is actually I build out the entrance to make it midway and just fill it in there. So now we've got the entrance in, but as you can see in a moment, I'm going to do a quick time lapse, and as you can see, we've got TNT blocks. These are going to be disastrous. They're going to ruin that entire nice thing I just built and basically destroy it. But what I actually do here is, as you can see, we've gone down, but off camera I do that 3 more times to make the levels go down even further. So now you can't even see the bottom. I've used about 300 blocks of TNT there, and as you can see, destroyed the entire entrance that I just built and surrounded the entire place with torches. As you saw then, it also destroyed the grass I used to block off the waterfall, so we replaced it with stone. But now this is our natural landscape, and I just rebuilt that again off camera, and this is where we're going to build our dungeons. What we're currently focusing on now is actually templates. As you can see, this has been a style I've used throughout the castle, is making sure I know where I'm going to build. So what I'm doing obviously is building, as you saw at the beginning, these are the walkways, and we're going to have the big space in the middle of them so you can look down into the deep dark and be intimidated, these prisoners. But now what we're doing is just building out, as you can see, these, so we know where we're going to build. We don't want to like ruin it or rush into it and then it being uneven. So just gradually they're sped up so it doesn't take too long in building these templates. I recommend to anyone who's building a big project, make sure you do templates first, because if you build something so impressive then later on it doesn't fit with something else you're planning to build, it's disastrous. So as you can see, these 2 circular kind of shapes I made. The smallest Minecraft circles you could possibly make are the guard towers, where guards can obviously look over the prison cells, and this bigger one I'm building is actually going to be a spiral staircase so people can access the different levels of the prison. Obviously that's going to be incredibly important because every land has criminals, and so obviously in our fantasy kingdom we're building at the minute, we're also going to have that problem. So as you can see now, our templates are finished, and these are our floor ways are going to be built out of just half like stone slab spaces. As you can see, you don't need to see them all being constructed, so we just knock this back 1 to fit in with symmetry later of the cells. But as you can see, the floor has been filled in as it followed through the entrance tunnel earlier. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to show me building 2 of the cells, because you don't need to see me build every single one. I think there's about 50 overall, so you do not need to see me building all of these cells. What we're actually going to do is just build 2, and then you'll be able to, obviously if you do want to replicate it, you know how to do it. So as you can see, just doing this style again, as I said, I want them to build into the rock. I wanted this dungeon to carry on its natural like heritage. I didn't want it to be all man-made. So as you can see, what we're currently focused on in it was using this stone stairs to entrance into these small little claustrophobic steps, because I didn't want these cells to be nice because they're for criminals. Why should they get any luxuries? So as you can see, we're just knocking our way, building these cells into it, using stone stairs in all sorts of ways to try and create a nice effect, but it proved difficult. So as you can see, just extending, making sure the roof's quite high, because we still need to not be like quite it has to have a certain amount of pleasantries. I mean, it can't be too. It's not a torture chamber. It's where someone may stay. But so as you can see, we're just creating this, and simply we've got this 3x2 prison cell. As you can see, the stairs. I thought they were a good idea until later on we actually try and put in the doors, and obviously the doors don't look nearly as good over stairs. So as you can see, just stumbled straight off the edge. That's going to have to be repaired later. As you can see, doors would not have worked on those stairs, so they've had to be replicated and changed into just normal steps. And then putting the lever there doesn't work, because obviously it opens both doors, so the levers have to go above each door. So now, as you can see, just simply placing in a bed and knocking away this corner. So what we actually can have is a small little water area if any time they may need the toilet, because again, it's got to have a certain limit to pleasantries, because we can't have them desecrating the place with their own feces, which would be absolutely disgusting. So as you can see now, what we're just using is mossy stone bricks, because these again just add a lot of age, makes the prison look old and weird, because obviously this isn't a new castle, this is meant to look ancient and all over our kingdom. So as you can see now, we've replicated that all the way around, and now what we're actually creating is the wall, because as you saw earlier, I accidentally backed off and fell all the way down. If this was normal, if this wasn't creative, I would have fell all the way down there and died. It would have been a catastrophe. So just putting that lamp there for a bit of light for you guys, and as you can see, just slowly building off this wall, using variations of material again to vary those shades of greys to make it not all that too boring, like color wise, and now creating this. So now what we're doing is, so we built that style at the top. Again, small details make all the difference in these builds. So as you can see, what we're now building down is we built 3 down there, but we're actually, in a minute you'll see, we have to extend down 4 when we build out. What this is again the template for the layer below. So as you can see, just knocking our way through, and now this is what we have is actually the next layer. So we've got the top floor, this is the floor below it basically, and again just replicating any kind of style we used previously and just filling in with those gaps. So now as you can see, we're getting this incredibly, like, it's slowly building off using the same style again, and again building down again. So as you can see how this prison's going to run, it's just going to keep going down and down and down and getting darker and darker and darker and darker, and eventually it'll be at the bottom, and the bottom cells won't be used. They're just used to intimidate our foes who we may have put in it. And as you can see, what we're going to do is this was incredibly time consuming, this episode, to create, purely because how far these cells went down. In a minute we're doing a time lapse, because you don't need to see every single layer be built, but honestly it took so long. You honestly should feel my pain. About, I don't know, an hour, maybe 2 took building this. As you see in a minute, time lapse will show it goes all the way down. Here I stopped using torches, so it just goes darker and darker and darker. So I probably didn't need to build. I built about 6 layers down there. Probably had to build about 4, but what can you do? So now, as you can see, just building up the watchtowers I previously said earlier, so the guards can watch over the prison cells. And then what we're just going to do is build up the same styles all the way around. It's really dark under, I'm afraid, just because we're exempt of natural light due to the fact we are in a vast cave beneath the castle. So as you can see, just building up again, building up this same style once more. Those torches will be changed early, because all the torches on this place are going to be built on the outside, purely because in my eyes torches be used as weapons, and obviously I do want to build this as a realistic kind of possibility of being a medieval castle dungeon. So torches are all on the outside of the walls, and these are just temporary torches. As you can see, the style has been replicated from all the walls around, and we have those small dungeons there. As you see, 1 redstone lamp has been placed in every single one, just to make a little bit of dim lighting. As you can see, again, now using double stone slabs, this is going to be a little point so the guards can actually exit this tower, obviously, if something goes wrong. So we put in an iron door in here, and then what we're going to do is make it so it can only be opened from the inside. This took a bit of a while just for me to get my bearings around, and getting in, I had to knock my way in using, like, as you can see, it was just a bit of a mess building this little spot, but it's a very simplistic design just to make sure that guards can access each level as they'd want to. A ladder will be placed at the back of here, so guards can move up and down, obviously, and the little iron bars can be put there so they can see inside. As you can see now, what we've got is we're just building the actual top of this guard tower, so guards can again protrude and look over this top layer with an open top feel. Using again the same style of wall we've used previously, this did not, I think, didn't look that good on these smaller towers with that style. So what we actually do is, in a minute, we'll move on. We'll rep this just there, as you can see that gap's left in there, just so the ladder can protrude up. But what we actually do is we just use a normal style here. As you can see, I'm still creating the old style with the cobblestone wall, but again, it just doesn't look good. I think it looks messy there. So what we actually do is we delete the cobblestone and we replace it with the stone stairs, because obviously this looks a lot cleaner and just a lot more, I don't know, just a lot more classier for a dungeon, really. It just doesn't look as much of a mess, because even though this is a dungeon, it is still part of our epic formal castle, and it has to stay up to high standards all the way through. So as you can see, we're getting very close to the finishing of this this dungeon area. So what we're actually going to do now is move on to building this stone stairway. As you can see, just filled in all the gaps and all the walls and built this stone brick like pillar up the middle to build the stairs off. Again, they go down, we're just using stone slabs here. As you can see, they go down one each time, and slowly we'll just spiral all our way down to the bottom to each level. What I'm just going to do is, again, I'm just going to show you 2 levels here. I don't need to see me making all like 6 levels, so as you see, just building them off layer by layer. We're just going to do these 2 layers for now, and the rest of the layers will be built off camera. As you can see, this style is incredibly effective. It's been worked throughout the castle, and all the stone spiral stairs have used this overall technique. So as you can see now, we've created this spiral staircase, which will give access to all the layers, and we just have to do a bit of refinement to make sure it's the most comfortable way of moving up and down, because this is primarily the way we're going to move prisoners up and down it. Just guarded escorts will take them down. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to smoothly finish off this wall to make sure it fits up with the tunnel we built in the previous episode. So as you can see, using the exact same style again, and we're doing it on the other side, although it was a bit fiddly due to the walls above and behind me, but as you can see, slowly and steadily just building up this area. Now just filling in the very last details of our stone dungeon, again putting the stone brick flooring quickly, and now I think we're basically at the end of our stone dungeon. We're just putting the last few style around the edge of this this spiral staircase, and as you can see, again, tried those stone walls, but they didn't work in this instant. They don't seem to work down here primarily as well as they do. So as you can see now, I think we're actually done. We're just filling in the very last stone stairs, and we're finished with our dungeon. As you can see, we're just finishing off these. That's like a handrail to the right hand side, and now as you can see, the stones work incredibly well. Let's get rid of that corner again to make comfort of moving up and down, and now we're actually finished. Quick time lapse here, and now what you can see is this is the entrance we built in the last episode, and the long stone corridor where the prisoners will be escorted down to their primary cell dungeons. As you can see, this is incredibly impressive effect, and if you ever need to replicate it, you can look back at these episodes and you can see this is how these stone guard towers will work. They can just watch over day after day. And as you can see, the dull little stone cells have been replicated, and the deep layers that just seem to go on for absolutely ever. They go incredibly dark, and as you can see, one little block down there, they go so far down, it's unbelievable. But now, as you can see, we're basically finished. One little you're going to see me build one little thing in the end here. You can see our waterfall pouring down. We do have a river, natural river below us, but the river doesn't go all the way. So naturally, as you can see, we're just going to look down here, and I'm going to build the river myself. I'm just literally filled in that area with water, and now we get this natural flowing river out into the woodlands. So guys, basically we're at the end of this episode. We're going to move on to the next episode, building another bridge, but thanks for watching.